This is the 100th anniversary of BP's visit to the Matopos. During this weekend we'll be travelling hundreds of kilometres to visit the two battlefields that BP fought in, the fort he set up, and to lay plaques to commemorate the occasions, June to August 1896.
First of all, thank you very much for coming here this weekend. Big welcome to those who have never been to Baden Powell before, and also a welcome to those who have been here before. As you have noticed from your brochure, this is a very special weekend. We will be commemorating the 100th anniversary to the very day and weekend that the founder of the Scout movement, Lord Baden Powell, was here in the Matopos in a military capacity.
The Matabeleland who had invaded the land north of the Limpopo in 1840 did not like the new white settlers invading their land and started massacring them.
Those who didn't even have spears used their axes. Every white person, regardless, child or woman, old, young, male, and everything, shot them.
On March the 24th, 1896, the Governor Cecil John Rhodes paid the British government £4,000 a day for the British Army to come out to Africa's wild northern frontier and suppress the Matabeleland rebellion.
He arrived from England as far back as the 19th of May, and then he got by train to Mafeking, and then from Mafeking he went by Zeedeberg's coach to Bulawayo. He obviously couldn't come up the road from Tuli to Bulawayo. He had to go the other way and come up through Mangwe from Mafeking through Botswana through Khama's country. So he saw down at Mangwe the kind of fort that was in use at the time. The fort at Mangwe is a great big circular fort, and the women and children were in the central part, and then there was a place around for the men, and then there was a laager of wagons, and then there were extra defences on the outside. And when he was at Mangwe Fort, Baden-Powell saw the first Matabele he'd ever encountered. They had a few prisoners there, and he was very interested in them and thought, you know, things were so organised that maybe the war would be over before he actually encountered any Matabele himself. And so, going on from there, he goes up the main road from Mangwe to Bulawayo, and he sees a whole line of forts which were constructed on the orders of Selous, or to the design of Selous and the specifications of Selous, at the very beginning of the rebellion. Remember, the rebellion started in March the 24th, and Baden-Powell didn't get here until June. So the things had been organised, and to guard the road from Mangwe to Bulawayo there was a line of 6 forts. There was Fort Luck, Fort Halstead, Fort Molyneux at Fig Tree, Fort Markand, Fort Kami, and Fort Dawson's, which is at Rangemore. So there were all these forts to guard the road from the south. They were all different shapes and sizes. Some were round, some were square. The one at Dawson's was that long hill that you see as you turn off to Rangemore, so it was a long, thin fort, because that was the way the land was. The one at Kami is interesting because it was just a sandbagged fort near the Kami River crossing, and it had a crow's nest. You'll hear about crow's nests later. Whether it had it before Baden-Powell went past or afterwards, I don't know, but it did have a crow's nest. Most of them didn't. So he arrived in Bulawayo then on the 3rd of June. Now we imagine that he went straight galloping off into the Matopos, but he didn't. He had a ghastly 6 weeks when he was staff officer to Colonel Plumer. And in the library in the City Hall, there are still, in the BSA Company's cupboard, a whole lot of blue forms signed RSS Baden-Powell, orders for the day. So he was busy doing transport, doing supplies, doing all the things that a staff officer has to do. Nothing to do with the Matopos, because to begin with, the thing to do was to clear the people away from the north. So Plumer had organised 3 patrols, one to go northwest, one to go straight north, one to go northeast, and as they cleared the people out, they chased them away. They retreated back, the Africans that is, they retreated back into the Matopos. And so, once they had cleared quite a lot of the northern part and established sort of holding forts where they cleared the Matabele out, they turned their attention to coming south. He made his first camp at Ushers number 1. He made his second base camp for the Matopos campaign at Ushers number 2, which was the Malema camp. So, the next thing that happened was that Baden Powell, absolutely fed up to the teeth with doing all this staff work, begged to be allowed to join Plumer in the field. And he was allowed to join Plumer, and he got to the Malema base camp on the 15th of July. Now, he arrived on the 3rd of June, so you can imagine how he was chafing with all the skills he had and being stuck in town while all the exciting things were happening somewhere else. On July the 16th, he asked permission to leave the base camp and go into the field, and that was granted. And on July the 17th, he began his reconnaissance of Babian's stronghold, which is the Nkantola. First of all, he went out with small patrols, and then he asked permission if he might go on his own, because he felt that one man on his own was much more likely to find things out than a whole lot of people chattering about together, because however hard you try, you snap twigs, you make a noise, and there's a Matabele there, and they know, you see. So Baden-Powell wanted to go on his own.
This camp was established on the 17th of July and was occupied until October of that year. At its height, there would have been 1,200 soldiers camped here and all the ancillary staff. Now, the camp itself was established between the 2nd and the 3rd sisters.
Where that big hole, you see with the land you have here now. Yeah.
From the second sister, looking on the third sister. That copy there is which is that copy, showing the general layout of Fort Usher number 2, also known as Malema Base Camp. You can see the formation of the square. You'll also see Martini Henry's standing. The second photograph is of the officers and NCOs of the Matabeleland Relief Force. Colonel Plumer is seated central. This is possibly taken against the base of the 3rd sister. This photograph shows Major General Carrington addressing the troops of the MRF at the close of operations. This was on the 3rd of September 1896. And the 4th photograph shows the Cape Corps. A camp that was occupied for probably maybe a week, something like that. But to date, all that we've managed to pick up is over there, the way it's if you can imagine this, as it was 100 years ago, as your road, I would imagine, would have come in from here, and maybe even following the route of this track. So, again, the rubbish dump, to my mind, you'd stick on that side. It proceeded south and east of south to the Nkantola Valley, to Babiana Masuku's stronghold. As you will have seen, the country so far has been very open, but the moment you cross this threshold, the country becomes very broken. As we go into the actual stronghold itself, you will see one of the copies has a very large cave in it, which was used by the Ndebele as a refuge.